Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we've got this fascinating stack of notes from a local politician. We're going to use them to really understand how intense things can get in municipal politics, especially when symbols are involved.
Yeah, we're looking at Pickering City Council through the eyes of Councillor Lisa Robinson. Her notes detail some pretty serious clashes.
Right, so forget sleepy council meetings. We're talking about fights over the Canadian flag, the national anthem, even removing prayer, and how these symbolic arguments turned into, well, procedural warfare.
Exactly. Accusations flying, using council rules as weapons. That's quite the story.
So the big question we're tackling today as we sort of unpack this is, how do these debates over really potent symbols, flag, anthem, faith, how do they actually become the tools for, I guess, political attacks and procedural games within a council?
It's basically a case study in how you fight a culture war using, like, Robert's Rules of Order.
Okay, so where did it all kick off? The notes point to social media, right?
Councillor Robinson made a post. It featured the Canadian flag, and she called it her pride flag. Seems pretty straightforward, patriotic even.
But the reaction wasn't straightforward at all.
No. A constituent, someone named Ellen Elizabeth, commented directly on the post, called the Canadian flag a symbol of colonial violence. Pretty strong language.
And this is where it gets politically charged, isn't it? Because it wasn't just a random comment left hanging there.
Not at all. Councillor Robinson's notes highlight this specifically. Two of her colleagues on council, Councillor Linda Cook and Councillor Mara Nagy, they actually like that specific comment.
Wow. So a digital thumbs up to calling the national flag a symbol of colonial violence from elected officials.
Exactly. And, you know, a like is quick, it's subtle, but it sends a very clear message, doesn't it? It instantly showed where they stood, ideologically speaking.
And Robinson's notes apparently contrast this with her own actions.
Yeah, she points out her consistent use of the flag lapel pins, flags in the office, even choosing the cenotaph, you know, the war memorial, as her favorite city monument. For her, it seems, liking that comment was a failure of leadership, a failure to defend a national symbol.
There's another layer to this with Councillor Cook mentioned in the notes, something about the Legion.
Yes, this is a really interesting detail. The notes say Councillor Cook is apparently a volunteer, even a bartender, at the local Legion branch.
The Royal Canadian Legion, dedicated to veterans and remembrance.
The very same. So you can see the tension there, right? Volunteering at the Legion, but then also liking a comment, calling the flag the symbol those veterans fought under, a symbol of colonial violence. That's a significant contradiction.
Definitely adds fuel to the fire. So this wasn't just a fleeting social media spat. It moved into actual council business.
Oh, absolutely. It escalated pretty quickly from Facebook to formal policy proposals.
So Robinson tried to use policy to counter this.
That's what it looks like. She brought forward something called a notice of motion. The idea was to basically standardize what flags could be flown on city property.
Okay, what did the motion actually propose?
It was quite specific. It stated that only government flags, so federal, provincial, municipal, should fly on government buildings.
Only government flags. Any exceptions?
Just two were mentioned. The veterans flag, you know, the red ensign sometimes associated with veterans, and the poppy flag around Remembrance Day. That's it.
So implicitly, that would exclude things like, well, the pride flag.
Exactly. And this is where, according to the notes, the counterattack came. Instead of debating the principle of government flags on government poles, Councillors Cook, Nagy, and another colleague, Councillor Brenner, allegedly went straight to labeling.
Labeling her how?
The notes claim they labeled Robinson as transphobic and homophobic.
Because the motion would prevent flying the pride flag, even if it wasn't singled out by name.
That seems to be the logic, yes. Robinson, for her part, denies specifically targeting the pride flag, saying she was just trying to apply a consistent rule about government symbols.
But the impact was seen as targeting a specific community, intent versus impact, right?
Classic culture war dynamic. And the consequences for Robinson were severe. This wasn't just name-calling. The notes state she actually lost 3 months' pay over this conflict and the related accusations.
3 months' pay? That's huge for a councillor. How does that even happen? Was it like a formal censure?
The notes suggest it was a penalty tied to some kind of formal process, yeah. Likely a finding that she breached council decorum or code of conduct related to all this friction. It's a serious tool. Councils have to punish members financially and reputationally.
So the accusations stuck enough to trigger a major penalty. Meanwhile, Robinson's argument, according to the notes, is that the council itself is ignoring its own rules.
Right. She apparently points to existing Pickering flag policy. She claims it already forbids flying flags representing, quote, controversial beliefs or ideological beliefs.
So she's arguing they're breaking their own policy by flying flags like the pride flag in the first place.
That seems to be her position. And she adds another point. She claims the pride flag was flown more than once in a calendar year, which she says also violates the existing procedures.
So her argument is, I'm trying to follow the rules, and you're breaking them, and now you're punishing me for pointing it out and trying to enforce them.
Pretty much sums up her perspective as presented in the notes. It paints the opposition as not just ideologically different, but also hypocritical on procedure.
Okay, so the flag fight sort of simmered down, but the conflict didn't end there. It shifted arenas, right, to the national anthem.
Yeah, the battleground moved from the flagpole to the council agenda itself. This part of the notes details a 7-month struggle over playing O Canada.
7 months just to get the anthem played at meetings?
Apparently so. Robinson kept trying to bring forward a motion to play the national anthem at the start of every council meeting, but she couldn't get anyone to second it.
And if a motion isn't seconded?
It dies right there. It can't even be debated or voted on.
Uh-huh.
So for 7 months, the mayor and council effectively blocked it procedurally without ever having to publicly vote against the anthem.
That's quite the maneuver, denying debate entirely.
It is. But then something shifted. The notes mention an event referred to as elbows up, maybe some public pressure, maybe internal politics. It's not entirely clear. Yeah. But after that, the council suddenly decided, okay, let's put the anthem on the agenda.
But there was a catch, wasn't there? This is where the notes talk about dirty politics.
Exactly. This is where the procedural maneuvering gets really well sophisticated.
Yeah.
They didn't just table a clean motion, let's play the anthem. No, they bundled it.
Bundled it, meaning?
They packaged the anthem motion together with several other totally unrelated agenda items. And crucially, according to Robinson's notes, these were items they knew she strongly opposed for other political reasons.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Right. She asked them, can we please separate these? Vote on the anthem by itself? So she can vote yes for the anthem she'd been fighting for.
And they said no.
They refused to separate the items, so she was completely boxed in. To vote against the other things she couldn't support, she had to vote no on the entire package.
Which included the national anthem.
The very motion she'd championed for 7 months. It's a brutal political tactic. It allows them to completely ignore her advocacy and just say, see, Councillor Robinson voted against playing O Canada.
Wow. That is strategically harsh. And there was one more symbolic battle mentioned, about prayer.
Yes, right at the start of the council term. There was a vote on whether to continue opening meetings with a prayer.
And how did that go?
The vote was 6-1 to remove the prayer.
And the one vote to keep it?
Was Councillor Robinson. She's still alone on that one.
So if you take it all together, the flag policy fight, the accusations, losing pay, the 7-month anthem battle ending in that forced vote, and being the sole vote for prayer, what's Robinson's overall take, according to these notes?
Her assessment seems pretty clear. She's quoted as saying people who play those games should not be leaders of the community. She argues these actions demonstrate that the mayor and the rest of council are, in her words, not patriot.
It's a stark picture of ideological division played out through procedure.
It really is. And while we're relaying her account, you also see the procedural skill of her opponents. They used the rules very effectively to isolate her and frame her in ways that were politically damaging.
So, wrapping this deep dive up, we've seen how disagreements over powerful symbols, the flag, the anthem, prayer, didn't just stay as debates. They escalated into accusations, financial penalties, and really intricate procedural games designed to corner an opponent. It's like high-stakes chess, but with bylaws.
Absolutely. And for you, the listener, this account really brings up big questions, doesn't it? Questions about transparency in local government, about procedural fairness, and what we should really expect from our leaders when these deep ideological divides surface. How should they handle it ethically?
It seems the fight over the symbols was really a fight for control. Control of the narrative, control of the agenda.
That's a key takeaway from the source material, I think. When something seemingly straightforward, like playing the national anthem, gets turned into a political weapon just to undermine a colleague, well, what does that tell you about the health of civic leadership?
Yeah, it makes you wonder about the integrity of the whole process when the rules themselves are weaponized like that.
Exactly. And it leaves us with a final thought. In a community clearly divided over basic symbols, what kind of leadership actually gets valued? Is it the strategically clever, perhaps manipulative kind? Or is it leadership that prioritizes, say, transparency and maybe sticking to principles, even when it's politically costly? Something for you to think about.